work is always more than money. I mean, there's a black and white bottom line reason why people need to work, but there's a lot more to it than that. The first thing somebody's going to ask you is what's your name? And the second thing they're going to ask you is what do you do? And your work in this society, your work is your main connection to that society. And so for somebody not to have work is a way of being cut off from everything. And I think it's especially true of folks who experience multiple challenges to employment or who experience disability.
As Americans, our work defines us. It gives us a sense of purpose, a feeling of belonging. Having a job is essential to our well-being. But for a person who has challenges to employment, just finding a good job can be a challenge in and of itself. In Portland, Oregon, a promising practice is being used to assist job seekers with multiple challenges to employment. At Pratt & Larson, a custom tile company here in Portland, Carlos Carrada Ortiz has worked in almost every department over the past 13 years. Carlos is a hard worker. He's skilled in the craft of spraying and glazing tiles. And he even helps to mentor new employees at Pratt & Larson. Carlos does all of these things masterfully. He also happens to be deaf and unable to communicate orally.
You know, I was born in Mexico. I had no education growing up. I came to America when I was 13 years old and began to receive an education at 13. And I went to Oregon School for the Deaf and started working in 1996 till now. You know, previously when I lived in Mexico, I had no work experience, no education. But when I came to America, you know, I felt in my gut there was something that I wanted, something I needed. You know, I was really enthusiastic about, you know, living life, but I felt I had quite a few different challenges and I didn't know how to overcome them.
Carlos is positive and upbeat. He's well liked by his colleagues, and he's adept at devising ways to communicate with them. He's even taught many of his co-workers the basics of American Sign Language.
Oh yes, I've been very successful at communicating with people. You know, honestly, sometimes I don't even realize I'm deaf. When I approach my boss, you know, I feel completely comfortable.
Carlos is a very good signer, I think, you know, and he's able to work with you and teach you how to sign. He's really able to handle very complicated tasks. I think maybe because he's deaf, he's had been more independent in a lot of ways, so he figures things out for himself whenever he can, and he understands the need to teach, probably because he's been in this situation of just having to learn in a very hard environment.
Carlos's real strengths are that you know, he's a really personable guy, and he's very driven, very motivated, and just an all-around hard worker.
Carlos has done well at Pratt & Larson, but after 13 years, he was ready for a change and eager to learn new skills.
I wanted to get into a different career that was better, you know. It didn't matter whether I was deaf or hearing. I wanted to, you know, be competitive and equal and have a good career.
Portland's one-stop career centers are operated by Work Systems, the Regional Workforce Investment Board. The one-stop centers connect with many local partners, including the Vocational Rehabilitation Agency and the community colleges. It was through Work Systems that Carlos met Brian Ingram, Oregon's lead disability program navigator, or DPN. It's Brian's job to coordinate resources for job seekers with disabilities.
So we started to do the same things with Carlos that we would do with anybody else, and as the navigator, I kind of acted as support to make sure that we could get accommodations in place to ensure that Carlos could access the things that we were doing. At that point, myself and Jesse, the WIA specialist, sat down and put together a resource plan for Carlos.
That resource plan is an integral part of Carlos's overall employment plan.
And so we talked about the different career possibilities of what I might be interested in. And Jesse suggested, why not, take some college courses? And I said, sure. So we went into PCC, Portland Community College, met different professors, asked them different questions, especially here at the Machining Manufacturing Technology Department.
And boy, when Carlos took a look at those machines, that was it. After that, he knew that that's pretty much what he wanted to do.
In his role as the Disability Program Navigator, Brian set up an Integrated Resource Team, or IRT, in order to coordinate the many employment-related services that Carlos would need to be successful.
It is about bringing all of the right people to the table and thinking holistically about how these various programs and systems, frankly, work together to provide a much broader and more comprehensive array of services for people.
In Carlos's case, we contacted vocational rehabilitation. Of course, Workforce Investment Act services were involved. The Navigator was involved. We also, as he moved into his training plan, involved some resources at the community college.
Carlos's objectives when he first met with me was to secure employment in machine manufacturing and to learn how to market himself more effectively. He understood that he had more challenges with that since he's deaf and wanted to be competitive. So our goal together was to help make that happen for him.
So Carlos enrolled in the Machine Manufacturing Technology program at Portland Community College. Before long, it became obvious that the career exploration that Brian, Jesse, and Carlos had done was all worth it. Carlos was a natural.
It's almost like he didn't have a disability, I mean, he was able to do anything that anyone else did. He can't hear, obviously, but other senses of his are much stronger than ours are. So, for example, when a machine is chattering, it's, when the tool's not aligned properly, he can feel it. Now he can really feel it, right?
Oh yeah, it's really strong now.
Carlos has very good potential in this job field.
The training that Carlos is receiving at Portland Community College is machine technology training. And it's a very, very refined skill that's going to allow him to increase his wages quite significantly from the job that he currently has. It's a really good match to his skill sets. We've heard that every step of the way so far in this plan.